All right, everyone. So CM Punk gave an update on his current status before SummerSlam. So this is from an article from Inside the Rope. Speaking with Denise Salicato at San Diego Comic-Con, Punk gave an insight into his mindset and stated that while he is somewhat anxious, he is as close to optimal as he can be. Mentally strong, this is from him, mentally strong, physically 100% or at least 100% as I get in the current stage of my career. I feel good, I'm anxious, and ready to lace up my boots. So this is going to be a big pay-per-view for CM Punk because this is a rivalry that has been drawn out for quite some time, not due to what WWE wanted it to be drawn out like this, but due to the fact there was injuries to CM Punk and there was various other unforeseen things that kind of extended this. And so it even got to the point at the last pay-per-view Money in the Bank where people were kind of like, "Hey, we want to see some actual resolution here. We want to see at least a fight because how many times can Drew McIntyre get screwed by CM Punk before it stops becoming a little bit as interesting, right? That's kind of the main point that they were making, and I could see it 110%, right? I would just point out it's not really WWE's fault, right? It's not CM Punk's fault. It's not Drew McIntyre's fault that the injury took place. It's just how the business goes. So now we're going to get that match here at SummerSlam. It's good to see he's ready to go because this is setting up for one of the best times in the history of WWE. You have that kind of golden era as they talk about. Then you have the Attitude Era, which certainly which I don't think anybody really knows how long the Attitude Era actually was. They say it was right up until the Ruthless Aggression Era, but I kind of just smushed those two together because WWE was really on an iconic run from the 97 through the beginnings of the 2000s. They were really on a big run. And even though they are two separate time periods, certainly with different stars, I really thought that was a very good time for the company. Then it went through a little bit of a lull, right? And now it seems like, even though we had a huge WrestleMania that was fantastic, it seems like that was just kind of the beginning of this thing. It was not the peak, that was a beginning, which I think is great news for WWE fans. And this is going to be a big part of it, right? Because we've talked about this in the past. What makes wrestling shows great is not always just the main events, right? A lot of people are focusing on the main events, but one of the beauties of the Attitude Era was that you just had great storylines throughout the card. You had guys who were main event talents who were in the mid card section because of how much talent was on the roster. I mean, think of guys like Mankind and Mick Foley and even The Rock and Triple H and these guys, they sometimes, or Undertaker, they even found themselves sometimes in the mid card, right, of a pay per view because Austin and McMahon was so big. I mean, that's how crazy and how big wrestling was and how good of a talent roster they had. I mean, that is the craziest part of it, right? Is that you had guys who are Hall of Famers, who are people who in any other era would be in the top all the time. They would always be that number one guy who are now, fighting halfway through the show because of how much talent is on the roster. And I think WWE is in a similar spot now where you have this kind of mixing of kind of older wrestlers, so guys like Cena, guys like Punk, with the more newer generation of superstars, and then obviously the top names now like Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns and others, and the Bloodline and stuff like that. So this is a big pay per view for CM Punk because kind of being able to have a good rivalry with Drew McIntyre can springboard him into bigger things, right, within the company. And also, it's just going to, if you're only watching a show for the main event, what the hell's the point of watching the vast majority of it, right? So I'm really hoping they deliver on this match because fans want to see it. We've been waiting a long time for it, and we're finally about to get it.